Well, hello and welcome to the Leaders Fuel podcast. I'm here with Lauren Marvin. And Lauren, it's been a huge privilege for me to serve as your thinking partner for several months now. Not only have I enjoyed getting to know you personally, what I've realized is not only are you an expert in your industry, which is the insurance industry, but you have so much knowledge and experience in just being an entrepreneur and being in the business world that I know what you have to share would not only benefit those in your industry, but in really anyone that's on the entrepreneurial journey. And so that's what we're here to discuss today, because I think people need to lean in because they're going to get some great value from what you have to say. And
hope so.
I am absolutely certain that they will. So first and foremost, there's a few things that I've noticed as you and I have had different conversations, and there's kind of 5 things that I've sort of identified. I want to ask you about your thoughts about each one that I see you are continually exhibiting, and it is a great benefit to you, and it is a great benefit to everyone that you serve. So the first of those is your generosity. I've certainly been a beneficiary of that generosity and watched you be quite generous to many people. So talk about that. What's behind that for you? What does that mean for you?
Well, for me, it just means that when people know that you care about them, they're willing to do whatever it is to help them within reason.
Sure.
Whether it's my staff, whether it's my referral partners, whether it's my colleagues, whether it's my clients, whether it's my own clients. I feel like investing in what's important to them is beneficial to me. And I don't do it because I'm trying to make a buck, if that makes sense, because that's where my heart's at. And, whether it's, like I said, my staff, I feel like to have a really successful agency, your staff has to be happy, which means investing in them. And, I could be greedy and take the money that the agency brings in and keep it for myself, but I choose to reinvest it in my staff because I know in the long run, that's going to be better for my clients. It's going to be better for them. I also just feel like totally, whether it's donating to a good cause, just anything I can do makes my heart feel better about being generous to other people.
Yeah, that's such a great concept. And, I've seen it I've seen you demonstrate it in, this would be one example. Besides that you're out there and you are doing business with a lot of people, and, I know this is not the way that you think about it, but patronizing their business, you want to help them, and obviously you benefit from that as well. But it's so beyond that, you are continually interacting with people in their business as a customer or client. What I see is that even within your own industry, you're very generous in terms of, if someone has an insurance related question and they're not your client, I've heard many times that you'll help that person find the answers that they need and get the help that they want, even if you're not writing a policy for them.
Right. And that's right. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are self-insured without a really good agent, that, go online and buy stuff, and then they all of a sudden find themselves in a predicament. And so, they should not be punished because they did what they, that they shopped online, or that they don't have an agent that cares. So I just try to offer them some help. And if they take it, that's great. I don't expect anything in return. I just feel like it's what I'm meant to do. So
very nice. Very nice. Well, there's something that I notice as you describe your interaction with people, and of course, as I watch you interact with other people in social settings or professional settings, I noticed that you use what I would use this term listening first. And talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'm always listening, which is, I don't intend on being nosy, but my ears hear things. And when they do, I'm like trying to decipher whether that means that somebody's looking for help or maybe they're just talking about something.
Mhm.
But in my mind, I'll give you an example. After the last snowstorm we had, I was my husband and I ventured out and we ended up at Wild Wings and we're just sitting at the bar enjoying some food. And I heard some people over talking about insurance and they had to do something about it. And I was like, hey, I don't mean to be no, but if you need help, here's my card.
Very
And
nice.
for me, it's always about having my cards on hand. It's always about having, just an open heart and willing to discuss anything with anybody and saying, you may never call me, but I just want you to know that if you need help, I'm here to help you.
You're available. Okay, so there's another part of that is that what I notice is whether it's a situation like that, your ears are sort of perked up. Of course, that makes me think of like Flo, running across the beach as a bundle with a bundle, right?
Right.
Or when you're interacting with a current client, I've noticed that you do a lot of problem solving. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, when I am talking to somebody, I've learned through the years that what they're saying doesn't necessarily mean what their problem is. So I try to take what they're saying and then listen to it and then turn it around and say to them, is this what you're looking for? Or is this what you're talking about? Because the way you went about it is not correct. So let me tell you the way we need to fix it. And so just by listening to just a lot of different things, like what's their concerns, what's going on in their mind, what's wrong with their situation. I just, there's a million different things that you have to be tuned in on to make sure that when you're finally done, you can say, okay, I've got a solution, or let me just figure out, let me take a few minutes to figure out what's the best route to go with you.
Very nice. Yeah. So let me ask you on this, that sort of tuning in and being able, it's the problem behind the problem, isn't it? It's, I might be telling you about a vehicle, but there's something more than a vehicle involved in the situation that they're really trying to solve. So that sort of being able to tune in, is that something that you say, oh, I was kind of born that way, or how has that developed in you over time?
Can't answer that question. Honestly, I think I was born with it, but I don't know if it's teachable. But in some ways it is teachable because I've learned that after sitting back and letting my staff listen in on what I do and then kind of coaching them through it, I can hear when they're talking to other people and they get the importance of listening. They may not like it. They may not always they might be griping. And I have to reel them in and go, you don't know their situation. They may be frustrated with you, but it's because they're frustrated because they don't know what's going on.
Right.
You, as the expert that's behind the insurance side of it, need to stop, breathe, not make it personal, and say, what can I do to fix this problem?
Very nice. because you're really standing in the gap. You're really between their problem and the solution, right? And
Sure,
that's
absolutely.
that's the connection that you're making, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, there's a couple of other thoughts and just some things that I've picked up, and then there's a whole other thing about the way that you do business that I want to talk about here and ask you about. But the next thing I've seen is that it appears to me that you have an appropriate level of accessibility to your clients, and maybe even, as we mentioned, people who are not yet your clients or may never become your clients. So
Right.
how do you manage that? What is in that for you?
It's a little bit crazy, but I do get a lot of referrals, and instead of my office number, they have my cell phone number.
Mhm.
When I make an immediate connection and I know it might be something that's, going to be something good for me and for them, I'll save their number. I'll give them access to my cell phone, which is probably not always a smart thing to do, but I think they've learned to respect that if I don't answer, they know that it's my time and not
Yeah.
their time. I manage, the time I give to my clients. I try to make myself, if I get an email, I try to respond as quickly as possible.
Mhm.
I try not to push it off on the back burner. The other thing that I do is I always also acknowledge that if I've got somebody who's waiting for something, I try to touch base and say, look, hey, I haven't forgotten about you. I just want you to know where we are in the process. Um, you know, this is where I'm at. I'm waiting for an answer. Your situation is going to take a little bit longer than most people's situation. So just be patient. I'll touch it base with you here and there. Meanwhile, if you find somebody who can help you better than I can, just please let me know, because I don't want to be wasting your time and I don't want you to be wasting my time. So if that makes sense,
Sure.
it's just
Yeah, well,
about
and
being
anyone who's
courteous
been
to
on,
each other.
now that's a good point. Anyone who's been on the other side of that equation could certainly appreciate that, because oftentimes that's really where people miss it, is that, and really that leads to the other thing, is that there's a kind of responsiveness and there's a level of responsiveness that you're giving that I believe is above par. And I'm bringing it up because, I have a great opportunity to interact with a lot of professionals and a lot of business owners, and we're not all created equally, and we
No,
shine in different
absolutely.
areas, right?
Right.
And so I think responsiveness is one of yours. Other thoughts on responsiveness for you and how that benefits you and the people that you serve?
Um, I don't know, for the most part, most of them appreciate it. I get, whether it's a potential client or whether it's um, a mortgage company looking for a deck page, or, it's, they are always amazed at how quickly we turn things around,
Mhm.
and that they don't have to wait for that, because probably one of the most frustrating things in this industry is waiting for an answer. And
Sure.
I see it daily. And, when I get on a call with a company and I get somebody that truly is not interested in what I have to say, I quickly say, thank you so much for your time.
Mm.
Appreciate everything. I totally understand where you're coming from. They have no idea that I'm about to say, I'm done with you. I'm moving
Yeah.
on to the next person.
Yeah.
So, so then when I do get somebody good, I make sure they know, it's very rare in this industry that when I call a company, especially a company, because there's a
Mhm.
between an agent and calling underwriting or customer service. Because
Sure.
when you're writing, they see this.
Mm.
They don't see anything else. When you're an agent, you have to see everything. And so when you're calling underwriting, it's really, really rare that you get somebody who's willing to go through the steps you're willing to go through to make things right. And so when you do that, I say, thank you. I appreciate you. It's very rare to find somebody who will go above and beyond. And so again, it's about communication. It's about building those relationships. And I think that's all important.
Oh, absolutely. Before I go on to the sort of the next whole area here. So let me just ask. So generosity, listen first, solve problems, be accessible and responsive, because those aren't the same thing, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me just ask, is it paying off for you?
Absolutely.
You're being humble, and I appreciate that. But is it going well?
It's going very well. As far as, my agency, I'm one of 6 in a family of Kenneth Rhodes and Associates. And our office continues to exceed the other agencies. We constantly have referrals, and we have referrals from referrals from referrals.
Oh, very nice.
So I don't see a problem with what we're doing. We support the local community. We try to get involved in every level that we can. I make sure my staff is involved wherever they're comfortable. So I put them wherever they're comfortable, because everybody's got to grow their business and retain their clients in a way that makes them comfortable. And
Very
so
nice.
we work it.
Really very good. Yeah, as I listen to you share that, it occurs to me that now I'm making an assumption, so correct me if this isn't accurate. But in these areas of generosity, listen first, problem solving, accessibility, and responsiveness, has that gotten easier for you? And the reason why I'm asking is because your referrals are bringing referrals. So does that dynamic make it easier for you to be generous, easier for you to listen well, solve problems?
It does. For me, I think it comes natural, but I think the fact that the doubts I had in my mind when I first started have totally been overcome with this flow I have going on, and with the fact that I've incorporated all this stuff into my life and made networking part of my life. I made my lifestyle.
Sure.
And it's really not that hard to do. It's just being genuine and caring about people, and keeping in the back of your mind to always listen and look for opportunities, and to always give back.
Oh, very nice. Well, I'm actually going to ask you a little bit more about that, but you said something really interesting, the flow that's going on. I hope no one missed that, because I'm only imagining that there's a lot of people out there who may be in the insurance business, maybe they're new in real estate, any number of businesses, and they're in this place of struggle. I mean, they're just giving it everything, and maybe not seeing the return yet that they want to see. And what I heard from you is it sounds like a worthwhile journey to stay in.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think if you can find somebody who is generous with their time and their knowledge, that aren't, I don't want to call stingy, but aren't greedy with making sure that they lock out their competition. For me, it's not about locking out my competition, because I want to see other people succeed.
Sure.
I want to see people that I believe in get the opportunity to have everything that I've been given the opportunity to have. And if I see that quality in somebody, I'm not going to shut them down, and I'm not going to say, figure it out for yourself. That's not me. I want to make sure that I instill on them, I push them and I make them want that success. And I'm not as young as I used to be, obviously, and I've been doing this a long time. But there were days when I thought, I can't do this anymore. There were days where I thought, this doesn't pay enough. And I had to think smarter instead of hard, work smarter instead of harder.
Yeah.
And so knowing that, I'll give you an example, and this is kind of crazy, but I had a fellow insurance agent texted me the other day, and he said, so I met this guy and I was going to convince him to sign all his business over to me. And I asked him who his agent was, and he said, it's you. He said, it's Marvin. He said, never mind. You stay where you're at. And ironically, that customer texted me the other day and he said, hey, I met so-and-so. And he said, you got the best. And I told him, yes, I do. And I'm not moving my business. And so I think it just stands out that people, that my colleagues respect me too. And they know that I'm going to give to them, but they also know they're not going to take from me because they know that my customers value me and that it's not something that they may be satisfied if they change. So
yeah. Well, what a great vote of confidence. That's tremendous. Well, you said the word that I think is your sort of secret sauce as well, and that is, and maybe you'll say this, I'm guessing, based on what you just said, what really flipped the switch for you was this whole idea of lifestyle networking.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk about that a little bit more.
Well, for me, especially with BNI, and I know a lot of people out here who are going to listen to this understand what BNI is. They make it a chore. Don't make it a chore.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace it. It's the least amount of money you are going to spend to advertise what you do.
Mm.
And it's the least expensive way to incorporate a huge amount of networking contacts. It's the best way that you can let people know who you are, show who you are, just get to know them, build those relationships. And with those relationships, those referrals will come in. And it's like, you have to have breakfast, you have to have lunch, you have to have dinner, you have to have social time. Why make it so difficult? Why make it hard to schedule all that stuff in there? Just make it a daily thing. Just get in there and say, hey, you want to have lunch? Hey, you want to have dinner? Hey, can you meet me for breakfast before a meeting? Grab coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Want to just anything like that. I mean, do social activities, just get out there. Everything that you do, just be present, be yourself, have your cards on you, interact. And it's that simple. It's not difficult.
So in that, in all of this, let me ask you this. Is everyone a good match for you and for your agency?
No, sir.
Of course, that's a loaded question. I already know the answer to, but I want to hear about that because I think it's important for people.
Right. So
we get hungry and we think we need to go eat anything,
Right. Absolutely. And that's one of the things, like I have a newer staff person and she's hungry and like, I'm having to push back and I'm like, think about every ounce of time you've put into this person. And think about all the more time you're going to have to put into this person and think about what kind of money you're making off of it. Because my staff only gets paid on new business.
Yeah.
So if you're taking all this time to convince somebody to buy a $500 policy that may not even stay on the books, it's really not worth your time. I think I mentioned in the meeting the other day, I don't want a customer, and I do not want a customer who, after my 37 years of experience, demands that I teach them how to read a policy so that they can determine if their loss is covered or not. It doesn't work that way. You know what? I handed her the policy and I said, find somebody to teach you how to read it because I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility. My responsibility is to tell you how it works. And if you want to understand more and you think you know more, and
Right.
you that you can manipulate this policy to turn into what you think is covered and not covered,
Mhm.
have at it. But I'm not interested in somebody who's nickel and diming me to death.
Yeah.
Because I don't set the rates in insurance. I don't set the rates. And I'm not interested in somebody who's going to browbeat me.
Mhm.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I know that there's people who have legitimate issues and have the right to take it out, and that's fine. But the people who are, I'm not that hungry.
Yeah. And to be clear, we're talking about that just with any industry, there's always someone that's going to try to game the system. And, I am aware that in your industry, there are people who, let me just grab a policy for a short amount of time so that I can, check this box and then I'm going to drop it.
Well, it happens all the time. They will buy something, and you can tell by their insurance history. They don't know that you can pull reports, and
Mhm.
but the thing is like, you can see habitual people who like will buy a policy just to get an insurance ID card. And then they'll let the policy lapse. And then 6 months later, they'll need proof of insurance again. So they'll buy a policy, and get an ID card. And for me, when I see that, I'm like, oh, well, by the way, your insurance premium is going to be $3,000 and you can't pay monthly. You have to pay that in full.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, I can't do that. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Maybe you can find somebody else who will finance it for you, but I can't.
Yeah. And in the end, besides protecting yourself from people that are really not even out for their own good, and they're
Mhm.
certainly not out for your good, it's in its own way an act of kindness,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you're not participating in someone doing something that's going to potentially do them a great deal of harm, because
Sure.
yeah. So also, as we, I think, very clearly articulated here, you are very willing to go above and beyond for your clients. Good people need good protection. And I understand that just like my industry, there's a certain level of confidentiality that you have to protect. But if, at least in general terms, what's the most outside the box thing that you think you've done? I know you do a lot of it, but pick one. What's what's one outside the box thing that you, to really go above and beyond to serve
Mm, that's where I'm not good.
someone?
I don't know, because I don't ever think that what I do is so outside the box. I mean, are you maybe, I don't know, Rick. I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, I can give a few thoughts on that, and I can
Okay.
understand that, it's just how you are and who you are. But there aren't a lot of insurance agents, for example, if maybe they were insuring my business, would also be looking out for my interest in my business beyond the insurance, that might be concerned about my, something else about my finances, or helping me connect with other people that can also be a great
Oh, okay.
business,
Gotcha.
that sort of thing. And I think also that I'm aware that many times you've really gone to bat for people that you insure, where had they not had someone like you, again, we talk standing in the gap, things would have turned out a lot differently for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. And I do believe that, because for me, they don't, if you're on the other side and you really don't know how things work, I'm willing to go to bat for you as long as I feel like you're someone I should go to bat for.
For sure.
And so it just depends on the situation. And I can't, I'm sure I probably have like a million situations where I've gone to bat for people, whether
Yeah.
it's claim, whether it's been, okay, I'll give an example that's coming to my mind right
Sure.
now. So I got a referral from somebody, and I quoted their auto and I quoted their home, and they were extremely happy with it. I was saving them a lot of money.
Mhm.
Hooked them up with a carrier. The carrier wanted proof of prior insurance. So I overdid it, and I sent all of hers and all of his. She was the first named insured. He was the second named insured. But he had more proof of prior insurance than she did with this particular carrier. She had a better credit score than he did, which is crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. Meanwhile, after the policy got issued, the premium went up by like $3,000 a year, which was totally unacceptable.
Mhm.
I had to get to the top, and I tracked down a manager, and we worked on it for about 4 hours and manipulated the system. That just goes to show and find the right person. Putting the right person in the first place and the right insurance in the first place, and whirling things around, and we got the price back down to where it was. So, I've had another person who I wrote and I made a mistake on it. I came back and said, I made a mistake on what I did with it. This is what the premium is going to be. They said, that's not acceptable. I told them, I totally understand. If it were me, I'd go back to XYZ carrier because they have a better rate. But then I was like, let me reach out. So I reached out to underwriting, and I was like, look, we're about to lose this back to this carrier. This is what's going on with this vehicle. And they gave credits on the account. So I learned that negotiating, you can negotiate with the underwriters too, and they're willing to discount the account. So we brought the account back down again within an acceptable rate. And so they kept the policy. So those are just things that, you can't just stop at the sale, because stopping at the sale just means that's all you care about is the sale. And for me, if I sell something, I'm selling a promise. And if that promise comes back and it's not what I promised, then by God, I'm going to make it right, or I'm going to find them somebody who can make it right. So
Outstanding. Yeah, very good. Well, okay. So if let's say, for example, I was fresh off the turnip truck, and I said, I'm getting into the insurance game, Lauren. What other piece of advice would you give me that would help me to be successful?
oh my gosh, that's
I've heard a lot of good stuff. Is there anything that we haven't said that I would
so, for me in my agency, it sounds crazy because so many people want to hire somebody who's already licensed or has experience, and I'm the total opposite. I want somebody fresh off the turnip truck because I want to instill on them what I've learned, and I want to mentor them. And so the way that my business works is like, I take somebody who I believe in and I give them the opportunity, and I always start them unlicensed at my front desk, which is my hot seat. And if they can hit the hot seat and study and get their license and move up, then I'll replace them in the hot seat. And if they can't get past the hot seat, or the hot seat isn't for them, then I'm like, no, you need to find another career.
Nice.
And, for me, insurance, people think insurance agencies are just an easy place to work, but I don't want anybody who doesn't want a career. I want somebody who wants to have a career, because you start at the bottom and you work your way up.
Very nice. I want to end with this. How much has it mattered to you and to the people around you that you are heavily involved in your community?
Oh, a lot. So, I love being in a small town. Small towns are like, you can't describe it. Big cities are awesome because get lost in that. You can get lost in it. You can be whoever you want to be.
Mhm.
This you can't. Your reputation matters big time.
Mm.
And so getting to know your fellow community and letting them know that you're there for them and being involved in every aspect that you can be, lets them know that you do care about the community that you serve.
Well, Lauren, again, it's been my privilege to be your thinking partner, and I want to encourage people to reach out to get to know you as a fellow professional, and certainly anyone who has any need for examining their insurance, seeing if they need to compare what they do now to what else might be out there. I know that you're the right person to talk to. I want people to know that when this video goes out, it will go out with every way possible and appropriate to connect to you. And I won't give everybody your cell phone number, but I'll make sure that people have a way to connect with you if they don't already have that.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just want people to know that I'm the kind of person that if I look at your policy and I feel like where you're at is the best place to be, I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to take your business just to take your business. So
outstanding. Well, thank you very much for being a part of this, and I look forward to sharing this video with others.
Appreciate it.